A triathlete who helps his exhausted brother to the finish line, a South African golfer who hits an improbable hole-in-one, and many other rare feats await you in this video. Here are the rarest moments in sports history. At the Cozumel Triathlon in Mexico, a particular event at the end of the running event moved the whole world. Two English brothers, Alistair and Jonathan Brownlee, were participating in this sporting event among the triathletes. Alistair Brownlee was a two-time world champion and four-time European champion, and his brother received numerous bronze and silver medals. On this day, success seemed to smile on them again. After a successful transition, the two brothers, along with the other triathletes, are fighting for the top spots as the final event begins. That day, it was very hot, and Jonathan, completely dehydrated, was getting more and more out of breath. He felt an obvious discomfort. As he could no longer continue his efforts, he slowed down and was about to give up. But his brother Alistair, who was running right behind him and who had a great chance to win, seeing Jonathan's exhaustion, suddenly made a noble and spontaneous gesture. Not caring about the race anymore, he decided to help his brother. He supported him, and drove him to the finish line, under the clamor of the admiring crowd. In the meantime, Henri Schoeman of South Africa won the race, but Alistair's generous move had the same impact as a victory, and the whole of England was moved by it. Indeed, Alistair Brownlee received countless tributes, including one from J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, who was quick to applaud his brotherly selflessness. However, this admirable gesture was much commented on by the specialized press, which wondered whether it was legal or not. The Spanish Triathlon Federation, convinced that Alistair's rescue was against the rules, demanded the disqualification of the Englishman, which was fortunately refused by the international authorities. Since then, the fame of the two brothers, already established, became more important, and they continued to win medals in the competitions in which they always participated together. We are now going to talk about bobsleigh. For those who do not know it, it is a sports discipline included in the Olympic Games, practiced in winter, and in which teams, composed of 2 or 4 bobsledders, sit in a row, aboard a carronated machine that slides on an icy track, engaging in timed races. In 2018, in South Korea, several teams, representing different countries, including Canada and Germany, participated. Of course, the bobsledders were desperate to win the gold medal, especially since the medal field was so close. Canada and Germany, for example, were close behind Norway. One of the Canadian teams was made up of Justin Kripps and Alexander Kopacz, while Francesco Friedrich and Thorsten Margies formed one of the German teams. But an extraordinarily rare phenomenon would punctuate this tight race, as Canadians and Germans were neck and neck, followed by the Latvian team. Indeed, something happened that had only been seen once before, since the sport's inception in 1932. While the German-Canadian duel was not leaning to one side or the other, both teams finally crossed the line in an identical time of 1/100th of a second. Faced with this perfect equality, the organizers had to reward the Germans and the Canadians equally. Both teams received the gold medal, while the Latvians, third in the race, were awarded the bronze medal. Almost unheard of, the two teams celebrated their shared and surprising victory together, under the applause of the public. But neither Germany nor Canada won the 2018 Winter Olympics, where these euphoric and rare scenes took place. It was Norway that collected the most gold medals, closely followed by the two countries. The next edition will take place in 2022 in Beijing if the health crisis allows it. Perhaps then these two countries, always well classified, will see the chance to smile? In 2020, the Phoenix Suns faced the Dallas Mavericks in an NBA game. The wing Josh Richardson, recently transferred to the latter team in exchange for Seth Curry, started the game. This hotly contested duel will give rise to a fact of the game, which lasted very few moments, and which we rarely see in basketball, so little chance to happen. Josh Richardson was at the origin, and he did not expect it at all. The game was open, even if the Suns were slightly ahead when the Oklahoma native took a jump shot. That shot proved effective, and the Mavericks were able to close the gap in scoring. But the trajectory was more than unusual. Instead of sliding into the net, the ball made endless circular movements around the hoop. And you can feel Josh's exasperation and disbelief all too well, during those long seconds. It seems like he was close to going crazy with anticipation. The ball fooled once, twice, 3 times the shooter who couldn't believe his eyes. The player will long remember these comical and intense seconds. Fortunately, these were not the last moments of a crucial match, otherwise, there would have been many heart attacks among the spectators. In the second leg of the English Premier League playoff semi-final, Watford faced Leicester City, and Watford striker Troy Deeney was about to experience the most intensely joyful moment of his career. The winner of this match would play the runner-up, and the winner of this final match would play in the English top flight next season. The stakes are high because the Premier League ensures the financial health of the clubs through very important revenues for all participants. Troy Deeney and his team have to win. The first leg ended in Leicester's favour with a score of 1-0, and Troy Deeney and his team had to win by 2 goals to qualify. The game starts and the Watford players quickly take the lead. The end of the game is extremely tense and we are heading straight to extra time. But everything changes in an instant, and it's a catastrophe for Troy Deeney and Watford. Leicester gets a penalty in the last minutes. What was to follow was incredible. The shooter misses his penalty, intercepted by the goalkeeper Almunia. This one quickly passes the ball to the Watford players, who launch a twirling counterattack. Seconds later, Troy Deeney scored the 2-0 goal that propelled his team into the final, in the 7th minute of extra time. An incredible scenario for a memorable victory. Troy Deeney, at the height of his joy, took off his shirt and threw himself into the crowd. The scenes of jubilation were delirious, and the ecstatic public invaded the field. Unfortunately for Troy Deeney and his teammates, despite this spectacular achievement, they will not succeed in getting promoted to the Premier League, as they lost the playoff final against Crystal Palace by the smallest of margins. He would have only needed to qualify to become an absolute legend of the club, but with 4-1-1 games and 137 goals, he has already won over the Watford fans for a long time. In the Copa America, Paraguay and Colombia faced each other in the group stage in the United States, and the referee of this match was Brazilian and was called Eber Roberto Lopez. As South American games often give rise to outbursts and scuffles, the referee was keen to keep the game running smoothly, calmly, and in good sportsmanship. Before the start of each game, the referee must flip a coin to determine which team will kick off. Usually, the viewer hardly pays attention to it, and the directors prefer to show the team compositions, rather than showing this banal and short sequence. But on this day, a harmless and amusing circumstance defies all odds. While tossing the coin in front of the captains of both teams, the coin miraculously fell on its side. Witnessing this improbable chance, all the protagonists started to laugh, and the referee, who took several seconds to realize the thing, finally picked up the coin to throw it again. If this sequence took place in a good mood, the same cannot be said of the match, which ended in favor of the Colombians with a score of 2-1. The referee, despite his intentions to contain the outbursts, had to give a red card to the Paraguayan Oscar Romero, 10 minutes from the end. Moreover, in this competition, it will not be the only exclusion that he will have inflicted, since, during the final Argentina-Chile, he expelled 2 players. James Hubert Kingston is a South African professional golfer, and in 2013, he participated in the Alfred Dunhill Championship tournament, which just happens to be held in South Africa, and is very well attended in the country. With previous wins in various tournaments, James Kingston is keen to put in a good performance in this local tournament. James has definite qualities as a golfer. He has stamina and technique, and he is also prodigiously lucky. James Kingston pulled off the highly improbable feat of hitting a great hole-in-one in front of a stunned crowd. Hole-in-ones are extremely rare. For those who don't know, it's simply a shot that puts the ball in the hole in one attempt. This feat is so uncommon that tournament organizers sometimes offer huge sums of money to the person who succeeds. They offer a new luxury car, numerous gifts, and checks for up to $4 million. Of course, these awards are huge, and the organizers are well helped by the prize insurance. According to the probabilities calculated by these insurance services, James Kingston had a 1 in 2,500 chance of making that hole-in-one. The average golfer would have a chance of 1 to 12,500. It was his counterpart Carl Schwartzel who won this edition. This one, by the way, is not what we call a surprise winner. Winner in 2012, 2013, 2015, and 7th in the world top 10, Schwartzel is a top golfer. But James Kingston knows he can do better, and the next few tournaments may be his chance to do better. The Champion of Snooker is a British snooker tournament created in 1978, which sees the participation of 16 professional players each year. These are divided into 4 groups, the winner of which qualifies for the semi-finals. To enter this competition, each participant must have won a national or international tournament, and among these tournaments, there is the Women's World Championship, won by Rhiannon Evans. In other words, among all the players, there will be a female player. Rhiannon Evans was born in 1985 in Dudley, England, and in 2010 she became the first woman to play professionally. She has won the title of Women's World Snooker Champion almost every year, and in her category she is unbeatable. In the Champion of Champions 2019 edition, she had to face, in the round of 16, the world number 8 Shaun Murphy, a very experienced Englishman. The game was going to be quite uneven, and Rhiannon Evans had to create the feat. The duel between Shaun Murphy and Rhiannon Evans was interesting in more ways than one. Not only because it was the battle of the sexes, as commentators said, but because the game scenario was full of twists and turns. Rhiannon Evans, first of all, would take a big hit, and was severely beaten 3-0. Her chances of victory were dwindling, and the favorite, Shaun Murphy, was holding his own. But an incredible turnaround would occur within 10 minutes. The player Rhiannon Evans is in a strong time, and she manages, in 10 minutes, to equalize. Full of confidence, and particularly encouraged by the spectators, she gave herself a psychological advantage and came close to a historic achievement. But the pride of the English champion does not take long to reappear, and finally, Shaun Murphy wins 4-3, and Rhiannon Evans accepts with smiling dignity the logical defeat. But for a moment at least, it will have made the one who is nicknamed by his peers, the magician, doubt, so much he is skillful and efficient. However, Rhiannon Evans will not stop there. Her progress will one day pay off, and that's what we wish for her. That's the end of the video. Tell us in the comments which of these sports moments made the strongest impression on you.